Welcome to Beyond the Numbers, a podcast that explores the human side of money. Before we begin, please note the following important disclosures. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member, FINRA, SIPC. Individual tax and legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies mentioned. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. With that out of the way, let's get started.
On today's episode, we'll be talking about financial myths, financial risk, and everything in between. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for listening.
We're live. We're
live. How about that?
It's the first podcast. I was thinking that we talked about common retirement myths and unpack those, maybe even, if I'm bold, debunk them a little bit. Not in the way that Mythbusters does, because I don't have all the science and research that they have. But I got to thinking there's a lot of things in life, not just in financial planning, but just in life in general, that we kind of just take as fact. So I started looking them up in preparation for this, and in looking them up, realized a few things that I've always thought were true that
not true,
probably aren't true. Like, for example, I've always heard that you can see the Great Wall of China from space. Did you know that that's not? You're looking at me like, yeah, dude, of course you can't see that.
No, I would think you could.
No, they said apparently you can't. Like, not any more than you could see any other kind of like road or river or yeah. Like you swallow 8 spiders in your sleep. Have you ever heard that?
No,
you've never heard that? I've like spent my whole life thinking that bugs crawl into your mouth in your sleep. It's not true. Like, spiders have no interest in crawling into your mouth.
Yeah, and like, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the spider. It's not good for us.
But there's something about those that like tickle some kind of like emotional side or some kind of so like the spider thing, it's like tapping into some like deep rooted like fear that makes it believable. Like with the Great Wall of China, there's some like romance almost about it, like
it's so big I could see it from space.
Yeah, like how cool is that?
Yeah. How does this apply to economics?
So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So my point is that through our whole lives, there's these like things like, and you probably have some too, and maybe you don't even know that they're not true, but you just accept them as fact because they just either seem logical,
like
they
my
make
cat
sense.
Loves me.
Exactly like your cat
exactly.
loves you. The same is true with financial planning. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with a client and they've told me something as if it's fact. And I'm sure that you can think of some. I've thought of some in preparation for this. But just to kind of set the stage, I wanted to share with you a story about a client that I've worked with, Sally. We'll call her Sally. That's not her actual name.
Right.
63 years old. She came to me and was looking for retirement help. She was a school teacher, single, never had any kids, and was like, I just need to make sure that I'm comfortable retiring. So we sat down, crunched the numbers. She's convinced that she has to wait, 5 years to retire. We look at it 6 ways to Sunday. Every single possible way you could look at it, and it's like these numbers work. Like she
could retire now.
Right now, if you don't want to work, you could retire right now. I don't see any reason why you need to wait 8 years. And so then she's coming back to me like, "Well, run this. What if I go into a nursing home? What if this? What if that?" Which is all good.
Yeah,
all good.
Right.
We ran all the what if scenarios and still could not tank the plan. She had saved that much money. I mean, because this is how, and I find that this is often true, is that kind of mindset leads someone to just, she's been so frugal her whole life.
Yeah.
No kids obviously saves you some,
money.
Well,
she raised her students.
And that's exactly right. Totally invested her life into her students, but that's not as expensive from a financial standpoint as having kids, right?
Right, for sure.
So she's good, but she's convinced no matter how many meetings, I talked to her, no matter how many times I talked to her, how many meetings we have, she is absolutely convinced she cannot retire. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why do you think that is? Like in your experience?
A lot of times when somebody says I want to retire, I mean, the first thing, and I'm not trying to call anybody's bluff. I was just trying to understand them. That they say I want to retire, and I said, okay, so let me make sure that we're clear. If I can run all of our simulations, we got software we pay tens of thousands of dollars for annually to make sure it's good software that's right. But if we run this 85 different ways, put our knowledge to it, and would you quit tomorrow? And they said, tomorrow. I said, well, you said you wanted to retire today. This is one day after,
That's later
today.
That's
said. Later than today. It's interesting. Very few times, I've had people say, get me out of here, And even they may not think they really want to retire. They just want out of that job, which, okay, that makes, I hate the job. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But do you really want to retire today? I mean, what people I think really want a lot of times is to make sure that they have options. Mm. That they just I hate this job. I want to leave. I'm working. I have a commute that's 50. I got to commute 50 miles each way. Mm-hmm. And he said psychologically I can't do the commute. Yeah, I can't do it. So so he wanted out of the job again, but he didn't want to retire. Mm. So I think we can help people get started on the road to understanding what they really mean by I want to retire. Yeah, like really digging in and exploring that deeper. And I think where it started with for Sally was that just exploring the options. But as we continued to work together through the years, it became more and more obvious that she was ready. Yeah. Especially COVID hits and like the whole school system changes. She was ready. She was ready to leave, but was still hanging on. And it's like, look, the numbers aren't even just good. I'm saying like you're going to end up with a bunch of money. She's single lady. She's single lady. I think single married, people, have to double and triple check it. And so did she end up? She did. She eventually just bit the bullet, trusted, retired, and started spending time with her sister, started going on tons of different, all the travel she wanted to do, sending us postcards in the mail of all the different places. It's kind of like the Bible, man. I mean, you have Thomas in the Bible, right? He's the guy that had to stick his finger in Christ's wound, right? Because he's like, man, I see you in front of me. I still don't believe this. Everybody has to have faith to do anything, to walk out of the house. Yeah, sure. It is a big leap. Whether you're comfortable with it or not, you should at least check to see, does your assumption actually match reality? And we were able to do that. We were able to check because you got to also think about what you're missing. And I think that's what's so often forgotten in that conversation is what she would have missed out on had she not have taken that leap and realized that she was in fact okay was that time that she got to spend with her sister, was those vacations that she got to do, because you're getting old. If she had waited till she was 80, maybe she's not around to do those things. And you hear that, say, you don't ever go to a funeral. So somebody said, shit, man, I should have spent more time, at work. I've never heard that. But on the other hand, many people need a purpose that doesn't just involve travel or golf or pickleball or fishing or gardening or whatever you're doing. What are you going to do 10 o'clock Tuesday morning? If you don't have the answer to that, you're not ready to retire. Yeah, I think that's another thing that's scary for some people sometimes too, is thinking about that unknown. Like, I don't want to just sit around and watch Judge Judy all day. And a lot of times there's some kind of emotional tie to what's holding you there. But the mistake that can be made is that I think a lot of times in our profession there's an assumption that's made all the time
that more is always better in terms of money and finances, right? We look at the spreadsheet and we're like, well, $1 million is better than 500,000. 2 million is better.
Or here's a myth. I mean, I need $1 million to retire. Exactly. You hear that all the time. There's books written that say that. This is silly.
Why is it silly?
Well, I mean, it's not what you it's not what you make. It's what you spend. So if I have maxed out my Social Security and I have a small pension and I live in a small house and I'm not in a big city, I'm maybe in Kansas, or I'm in rural Georgia, a low tax state. I mean, you may very well be able to live on Social Security and a small supplemental pension.
But wouldn't $1 million be better?
Well, of course. I mean, more is better when it comes to money, but it doesn't mean you couldn't. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to live a simple life and to get a maximum number of years visiting your sister, I think you said, and you don't have a big travel plan, and hey man, get retired.
Yeah. So for me, there's a word in our business that we use all the time called opportunity cost.
Yep.
Describe for people that don't know what opportunity cost is.
Well, opportunity cost is what it costs you to avoid something else. So if I let's see, my opportunity cost, if I have a $100 and I've invested that money at 5% and I've delayed a purchase, then my opportunity cost is what could I have benefited from the delayed purchase? I got 5%, pretty good interest rate. But the delayed purchase, I have delayed my pleasure on that purchase. I may die, may never get it. Somebody else get the 5%.
We went to Disney with the kids, and they had like a certain amount of money that they could spend. And
you gave them a budget.
And there was this thing that my son wanted. And it was just like the first thing that he saw. And so then that was there's an opportunity cost here. Yeah. That $50 can be spent one time. Yep. Can only be spent one time. So by buying this, you lose the opportunity of all the other things in the future that money could potentially buy. And I think that applies in this situation as well too, because while on the surface financially, and to my question was, wouldn't it be better to have $1 million? Maybe not though, because what do you give up?
Yep.
By waiting and saving, and especially if you go far beyond your goal. Now, I'm not saying that you should, assume that everything's going to go according to plan.
Right. No, you can't do that.
So I'm not saying I'm not saying you shouldn't have some leftover or shouldn't surpass your goal, but I think you definitely need to have your goal in mind. And to your point, some arbitrary number like $1 million is a silly way to plan, in my opinion.
No, it is. It's silly. And the thing is, to bring that full circle, I mean, your opportunity cost on you're 65, you've got diabetes, your health is not great. It's not bad. It's just not great. And you decide I need $500,000, so more. So I'm going to continue working for another 5 years. Okay, your opportunity cost, which you gave up 5 years where you're healthy, to bet 5 years from now I'm going to be able to enjoy that money more. Nobody's promised tomorrow, not even the healthiest guy ever.
Exactly. And going back to my story, if you were to ask, it would have been a huge mistake. Sure. For her to keep waiting. She realized that afterwards, but it would have been a huge mistake to keep waiting.
That's our job, man. I mean, and that's where we benefit people is being able to just sit down and say, hey, look, let's work through all this and make sure. Because there's also times where you have to tell people, look, unless you're willing to really adjust your lifestyle down, you need to keep working.
Yeah. What are some other things that you've heard along that vein?
More specific.
The Great Wall of China or spider in your mouth things of financial planning, the myths that you hear people say and they're just fact.
Well, I mean, the thing that comes to mind is I can self-insure long-term care. I mean, and people.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I'm just going to, people say, I don't need it. Well, you're going to either get some sort of offload in the form of insurance or a set-aside money, or you're going to self-insure. Now you're betting the farm, that you don't need it. So, but that it just simply don't need it. I've got so much money, I don't need it. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe.
What about I have to pay off my mortgage before I can retire?
Yeah, and that's probably a really bad idea. I mean, the thing is no, if you pay off your mortgage before you retire, and let's say your house is worth $400,000, and you pay it off, before you retire, and then you retire, and you say, man, I misjudged this. I need some cash. You go to the bank and you say, man, I'm retired. I don't have steady income. Would you please give me that same mortgage back? What's the bank going to say?
No.
They're going to say no.
Heck no.
Yeah, right. They'll smile and offer you a free toaster, baby, but they're not giving you the mortgage. Mm-mm. Right now, a lot of people have 3%, 3 or 4% mortgages. If I'm making 5% on my investments, not 6, not 7, 5. If I'm making 4, if my mortgage is 4 and I'm making 4.2, I should never pay the mortgage off because I get the compounding on the difference. And you say, well, it's just 4 versus 4.2. No, you compound that over time. That's a lot of money. And paying off the mortgage early, the problem is that there's two sides of making any decision, right? The first decision is emotional. The other's the math side or the scientific side, the clinical side. Mm-hmm. And the emotional side says, I don't want debt. Mm-hmm. But the math side will say 0.2. So once in a while, and I'll admit this, once in a while, I've had to have my wife has a talk with me because I go, gosh, I'd sure like to pay that off. She said, go back to the math side. That's not a good idea. Yeah, but it would feel good. Mm-hmm. So the only way I can handle not paying off the mortgage, and I'm completely open here, is I have to go say to myself, I got the money to pay it off. It's just not smart.
So then the follow-up question, so I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on this then. In what situations, or is it ever okay to indulge the emotional side of things?
Number one, if it overwhelms you and you can't get past it and it eats you, that's a shame. But if that's the case, then pay it off. Mm-hmm. There could be other reasons. The only thing that really comes to me is purely for cash flow purposes, although I would really want to see that. But there might be a reason to do that.
I think sometimes we try to make things so black and white because it's easy. It's easy just to have set rules never pay off the debt or always pay off the debt, right?
You can't do that.
It's easy to put it into these boxes though, right? It's easier just to think about that. But if the financial impact is $5, let's say the rule is don't pay off the debt.
Yeah.
But the financial impact is $5. Yeah. That's the only difference. And it is driving me crazy. I can't sleep at night. I can't, it's draining me emotionally, physically. Yep. Then spend the $5.
We know that client.
Right.
We do.
But sometimes spend the $5 to get rid of the emotional stress. So it's not always so black and white. These rules of thumbs are guides. They're good starting points. There's nothing wrong with
it's not worth your mental health.
To save $5? Yeah, no.
Even to save $500. The other thing is if you're at the end of a 15-year mortgage and you're in the last 5 years of 15-year mortgage, what are you going to benefit the bank? Almost everything that you're giving back is principal. No, you're not getting much of a tax deduction. You're giving the bank principal. They're earning interest on the money you have in their bank, and you're paying them off early. I'd make them suffer, man. They're not.
When you put it that way,
they're not getting my check until the last check's been written on the last day.
Yeah, they should be sending me on vacation. Why am I not getting vacations I don't know. With the amount of money?
But sure, don't pay them off early. You're just you're rewarding them.
Yeah,
not that their bankers are bad guys, but you're just rewarding them when they've already taken from.
I think at the end of the day, again, it's just really important to self-check and be like, is that true? Like, I know that I've thought that and I've believed that, and it seems to make sense on the surface, but maybe quantify that and see if it's true and unpack it in that way. So if you can see what the dollar impact is, and then you can assess the emotional impact of it, now you've got the ammunition that you need to make an actual decision based on reality rather than some belief. But the problem is sometimes we don't know that these are just beliefs, that they're not actually real. Another one that comes to mind just thinking about it is you shouldn't have any risk in your portfolio when you retire. Right?
Well, you can't avoid risk.
Well, okay, that's true too. But I mean market risks. Like there's a belief that you shouldn't have any market risk in your portfolio.
Now, why isn't that true?
The market risk and time relationship has to do with a concept. I mean, and I know that I'm not educating you on this.
No, that's fine.
It has to do with a concept called sequence of returns risk, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a time relationship to risk. In other words, the sooner that you need the money, the less risk that you want to have, because what you don't want to have happen is the money to drop in value and then you have to take money out. Right. It's like digging a hole with 2 shovels instead of just one. You dig a hole so deep, you can never, you're just going to guarantee that loss. Right. So that's where the time and risk relationship comes. But when you retire, you are not going to spend all of your money in that danger zone. No. Right? So what's the danger zone? I would say, and you correct me if you have a different opinion, but I'd say the danger zone is really like 5 years before, 5 years after you retire. Yeah. That 10-year period is a pretty dangerous period. That. So if you look at, all right, how much money do I need to spend during this period? During that danger zone period, that money absolutely should be in,
Well, that money needs to be invested in a much different way than the money that's after 5 to 7 years. So actually, probably 5 years is invested one way, 5 to 7 another way, and then after that's totally different too.
Yeah. So rather than just go into this black and white, like all my money needs to be conservative at retirement, that may not be in your best interest. Now, comfort again comes into play here. It's not, none of this is ever black and white.
Part of what our job is, man, is to make sure that we get people to not change what their comfort zone is. That's you, number one, you can't.
Nope.
But it's like, let me get the most return on your money as I possibly can without violating your sleep quotient, your ability to sleep at night, or your worry quotient. Mm-hmm. So how can I maybe show you something that could get close to or a good bit of S&P 500 rate of return without risk to principal? Would that help you get out of the bank, which is paying you some ridiculous small amount of money?
So, is there any other?
Yeah, I mean, there is no avoidance of risk. Mm-mm. If you keep your money in the bank, you're subject to inflation risk. What's almost the most common thing that's going to happen in risk is inflation. So if your investment or your money holding is not keeping up with inflation, you're automatically losing money every year. It's automatically, not a few years in the Great Depression or 4 or 5 years of the 10 years in the Great Depression, and then a few times after that. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you're losing money. So you've got to keep up with inflation. Mm-hmm. If you put all your money in the market, we understand that in the stock market, then, oh my gosh, it's going to go down, right? We're going to lose. It's market risk. I had $100, now worth $50. I understand that. But it's important to balance those risks. The other thing that's important to understand is that if you avoid completely one type of risk, then you're 100% subject to the other type of risk.
So the myth is you
can avoid risk.
You can avoid risk.
You cannot.
Yeah.
In anything, in life, in markets. And our job, again, is to help you figure out how much money we can make you without violating your tolerance of risk, not my tolerance of risk, not the producer over here's tolerance of risk, but yours. And we spend a lot of time getting to know every single client to make sure that we got that right.
I think in wrapping up, there would be, several takeaways that I see, and feel free to add anything that you think I'm missing. But one is, don't just believe it because you challenge the assumptions that you
or that you heard it online, or that your guy at the office said, you buy Coca-Cola, don't buy Pepsi. That's ridiculous. Number one, he probably doesn't know what he's doing. Number two, even if he does, it probably doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, verify it.
Verify it.
Even the stuff that you didn't know that you didn't, right? The stuff that you just heard your whole life because that's what your parents taught you, or that's what. And it might be true. I'm not saying that
some myths are true.
But verify it. So and if you don't know how, you don't have to do it alone. There's financial planners out there. There's people out there that have a grasp on this thing that can walk you through it and help you do that. Right. If you have enjoyed listening to this podcast, share it with a friend, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode, send us a note, let us know how we're doing, let us know if there's something that you would like to see talked about in the future.
Can I add, if you didn't enjoy the episode, if it's the worst thing you ever saw, if it bored you to death, lie and tell your friends anyway, please.
Yeah, we're desperate at this point.
No, we've had fun. Hopefully you guys have. We're going to do this regularly, and thanks for listening.
Awesome.